Welcome to the Happy Disruptors podcast. If you're a creative thinker with an unconventional approach to your industry, you just might be a happy disruptor. Join your friends at the Great Outdoors Foundation for honest conversations about tackling critical issues like conservation with an uncritical disposition. If you like to smile and get things done, this is the podcast for you.
Hello, and welcome to the Happy Disruptors podcast. I'm Katie, and today we have a very special final installment of a series we're calling the Best of 2025. And today's episode is going to be entirely around what it means to be a happy disruptor. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with that origin story, you'll hear a little bit more about where our name came from our very own CEO, Hannah Inman. But along with that, you'll hear snippets of conversations with our partners who embody qualities like innovation, collaboration, stewardship, creativity, and honestly, happiness, because we know this work is really serious, but we don't take ourselves seriously. So listen in, see if there are any qualities that you identify with. And we really just encourage you to get curious about how these takeaways might apply to you and your particular sphere of influence, because we truly believe that all of us can be happy disruptors. So that's a good segue into sort of our first point of discussion. Why the Happy Disruptors podcast? Where does that name come from?
Yeah, so a couple years ago, we were going through a rebranding process. We had become, evolved as an organization. Although we had the same mission, we were definitely doing things differently. And so when we did that, we did a stakeholder survey. And one of the things that came out of there was someone called us happy disruptors. And it kind of stuck because we like to have fun. We like to work with great people and great organizations. And although we're doing very serious work, it's a fun way to do it. And we do consider ourselves disruptors. So to have that modifier of happy in front of it, I think really fit and it stuck. And when we talk about that with other people, I think they agree. They think that's a great descriptor of who we are.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Great Outdoors Foundation obviously operates within the conservation sector, and we like to say we take our work really seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously.
For sure.
So tell us more about that. Like, what does that look like in the conservation sector?
Yeah, I mean, listen, water quality conservation, obviously conservation has been around for generations and done in many different ways, but really treating the land with respect and preserving the earth that we live in, you do it the same way every time, right? You just treat it with respect, and techniques may change, but really we like to focus in on changing the delivery mechanism. And we live in such a complicated world, an interconnected world. When most of our modern day conservation programs were developed in the 30s, we live in a very different ag state now. The ag industry has accelerated at a pace, but conservation really hasn't. And so when you look at our food system as a whole, being able to work with partners is a really important way because everything is so interconnected. But that doesn't mean that you can't have fun and you can't have good relationships. And I think that's what the key is because conservation is so interconnected, you do have to have those great partnerships and relationships. And so having fun along the way just makes it a little bit more enjoyable. So as a CEO, I mean, one of the defining values of Great Outdoors Foundation is innovation, but innovation, as we know, is messy. It hasn't been done before. But at the same time, we're trying to grow into a more sustainable organization with more predictable income streams. So as a CEO, how do you balance innovation with your organization, and how does that affect how you lead the board of directors?
Well, in the real estate business, we're always looking for obviously the next big thing, but what is the amount of risk associated with the next big thing? That's one of the most challenging issues for us to address. Is from a risk perspective, it's always what don't you know that you need to know. And with innovation, if you think you're going to be on the forefront, it's hard to find people that can help you identify where those risks are, because it is something that necessarily hasn't been tried and true. So, I mean, I'd say for the most part in our business, we stick to what we know, but you have to, if we're going to innovate in what we're doing, it's timing critical. Where are the opportunities in the next 6 to 12 months? We can't be thinking the opportunities next month after.
So obviously our conversation is largely geared around the Conservation Acceleration Fund, but something that we're talking about just more generally on the Happy Disruptors podcast is this innovative, like creative way to problem solving. And I love what you said, Melissa, like, yeah, it is a conventional way of looking at something. You have boxes that you need to check and you have processes that you need to follow. And as Jen touched on, we've been following a pretty similar playbook since the 1930s, going on 100 years. So how has working with the Great Outdoors Foundation and on the Conservation Acceleration Fund, how has it challenged you to think about problems in a more innovative way?
I'll let you kick that one off since you're the newbie.
To think
Not
about
really.
that
Kind of newbie,
one.
a couple months in.
Yeah, I guess so. My previous response in saying that just not accepting no the first time and trying to understand their perspective, whatever that hurdle is, whomever that we're working with, what's the right word here? What hurdles do they have internally, within their system, whether it's a state department or a federal agency, what goals do they have and what restrictions do they personally have that they need to adhere to? And how can we work around that, but then still accomplish this project or this outcome?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What I hear you saying is like, okay, we are both looking at a common like end vision, and maybe there are some like methodology differences or preferences, but how can we, instead of just scrapping everything, how can we accommodate those or adjust those so that we're able to work together as partners and ultimately achieve our common goal?
And I think that there are all of the groups and the people that we work with, a lot of us have the same goals.
Yeah.
We want to improve water quality and among other things.
Right.
But, for us, it's a large part of it is water quality. How can we get there?
I think that's been the fun part too, is that I feel like we've kind of unlocked some of our partners like out of the box thinking when it comes to the Conservation Acceleration Fund. I said earlier that things have been done a certain way for so many years, and I think it's kind of taken an unconventional partner like a nonprofit that was based in Central Iowa to come to the table and start, thinking of innovative out of the box solutions. I think it's been really fun to see what our partners have also come to the table with because of those out of box solutions, and because we're kind of trying to pull some of those things out of our partners. And so it makes me really excited for the future, because I think there's a lot there that could happen as well.
Yeah, it's like they needed somebody to nudge it
It's
forward
kind of
to
like being a little bit of like maybe a problem starter, or like like you rile people up a little bit, like in school. Like it just took one to get everybody going, and
it's kind of like poke the bear a little bit.
Yeah, like you're a happy disruptor, right? Like you're not causing problems.
And Jen has no problem doing that. So then I'm like, yes, let's do it.
Let's figure out a solution.
Okay. Exactly. Well, and I think
asking those hard questions.
Yeah, that's a testament to the I guess the receptivity of the Conservation Acceleration Fund. We have no interest in coming in and being territorial or stepping on toes or doing anything other than how can we advance this shared vision faster. With a wider impact than normal. What would you say, we've talked about the Conservation Acceleration Fund specifically, but what would you say as far as like being an innovative leader in the workspace? How do you approach innovation, and what advice would you give to people who are afraid to get that no?
I never take a no for an answer. I would say the innovation side of my career has really probably come out the last couple years. And I would say a lot of it's from Hannah's leadership, but also starting the Conservation Acceleration Fund. I mean, we drew on a napkin at the Dubliner in DC. Like, that is literally how this has like come to fruition. We're like, how can we fix all these problems that we're seeing, and how can we do it in our GOF way of, you know, being innovative and collaborative and stewarding our partners and our donors. But I think it's been really fun because I guess I probably didn't realize I had like the innovation, you know, kind of mindset behind the scenes. And I'm sure I did it every day when it comes to funding and public funding and private fundraising. But it's been really fun to kind of just unlock, and, you know, I'll have a funder that comes to me and it's like, well, we can't do this, we can do this. It's like, well, we can find a way to do that.
Exactly.
Like, we'll make sure that happens. And so any advice I would give is just kind of go with your gut. Obviously, my always biggest thing is it's not a no, it's a not right now. But trying to figure out like, okay, that doesn't work for them. So how can we make it work for them, but also work for us and our mission and our vision? And so that's kind of been the fun part about the last couple of years and seeing all that come to fruition too.
John, you always joke that no is not an answer, right? Like, that's just okay, we just need to try the next thing. What are your tips for shifting perspective?
Oh, no is not an answer. Like, the thing is, people like love to have me come and talk about all the success we're having, but like, we fail all the time. Like, literally on a daily basis, we fail. And like, we as a team, we talk about it all the time. Those obstacles Hannah was mentioning are like never ending. But at the end of the day, it's like, you just got to make it through one obstacle at a time. And if you do this long enough, those projects that failed, they always circle back if they're a good project. So again, you just focus on finding good projects. Don't worry about funding. Don't worry about find people willing to work with you and find good projects. And for me, good projects are those that maximize cleaning water.
Yeah.
And everything else will work out. And you just go through. And like when we were doing Bachelor Build year 1, I literally remember we had a bi-weekly meeting, our team. And the joke was like, how's the project going to fail this week? And we made a point, we told nobody about it. Like, we had 100 sites surveyed, and we hadn't told anybody because we still had a fairly high certainty that it was all going to fail and fall apart. And like, I always joke, I make lots of jokes, but like, I joke like, fail before people's money's on the line. Like, right? It's all good if you fail, but if people's money is on the line, like, people get really upset at you. So like, that was one, like, we were just taking it one step at a time. We didn't really know, didn't know what we were doing necessarily. We thought we did. And we've honed it in, and we've improved every year since.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a saying on the team, everything is figure outable. I don't think that's necessarily original, but that it sounds like you guys have the same mantra of it's no, but it's a temporary no. It's just like, we need to figure our way around X, Y, or Z.
And sometimes you do have to look. We're all like, being self-critical is good as a team, as a program. And sometimes you look at your programs and you're like, this wasn't like, we can do better. And you got to hone in. Just because something was good, like, you can hone it and make it better. And maybe the most exciting thing about me is some of these stuff that we've really honed down, it's now being carried in other counties, and folks are calling us. And the same folks that called us earlier, and they're like, this wouldn't work up here. This is Polk County. Polk County's different. Like, you guys are different down there. And now they're doing it, and it's working. I'm like, awesome. I'm glad it's working.
Yeah, it's got to be super satisfying to see your model of work applied in other geographical regions, not just within Iowa, but then even outside of the state. I mean, I think that's probably an indicator of success.
It's amazing. It's really cool. And it's cool because, like, at this point, if you follow certain rules and process, like, it's going to work. Like, it just is. It just works. And with every other new person kind of stepping into a new way of thinking and just thinking outside the box, it's pretty neat to see.
How do you look at innovation and collaboration and as a researcher? Like, how does that apply to your work? And what would you say is sort of the benefit to having those be a part of your methodology?
Oh boy. No, I don't know. Maybe other people like working alone. I love working in a team, right? I love bouncing ideas off of other people. Drake is small, and so I have to reach outside of, our department, and, collaboration can take a lot of forms, but there's so much cool science being done, and it's behind a firewall for a lot of people. I think a lot of people would actually engage a lot more
Wow.
if they didn't have to pay to get access to an article or just have trouble finding them in the first place. But Google's getting better, right? Like
Yeah.
Google
Yeah.
Scholar, you can find,
Yes.
you know, a lot more. There's more open source stuff. But if you look at those papers, you'll see 10, 12 scientists listed, right? None of this is in a vacuum. I didn't discover these, you know, spiral shaped cyanobacteria on my own, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a ton of work, and I try to tell my students all the time, like, look at them. They're real people. They don't know everything. They know what they don't know, and they talk to an expert somewhere else. So we benefit a lot from talking to other scientists, other perspectives. It's really important. And not just scientists, but the practitioners, right?
Right.
I can do the science, but I'm not good at going out and telling you should do it this way, or, you know, policy discussions. It's a different process,
Yeah.
right? And so we depend on lawyers to do lawyery things, and,
Yeah.
you know, business people to understand, you know, their role and all of that. So it's not just collaboration in science, but trying to understand that I like the science part. That's my role.
Right.
Yes.
And then I work with other folks who can find ways to take that message.
Yeah. Okay. So, how much
Just a
longer do we have?
light topic.
Yeah. Just like, I mean, this is buckle up. This is going to take
Okay,
like 20
before
minutes.
I want, this is like, I think this speaks to something that you spoke about earlier, and it's these unlikely partners and unlikely spots,
Yes.
right? So CoBank is a financial institution in the farm finance world. They lend mainly exclusively to co-ops.
Yep.
So we have a financial instrument in there. We have Heartland Co-op, an ag retailer, which we've already discussed how, you know, unlikely that is for conservation. We have the Great Outdoors Foundation. We're probably the most likely partner as a conservation organization. But then you also have the Environmental Defense Fund that's helping to validate and set key performance indicators. All right. So I wanted to lay that foundation. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes. So the first thing I'll say is that that whole process was, man, it was educational. I'm a very opinionated person. So, I'm sure you haven't picked up on it. I'm sure you haven't picked up on this, but I'm very opinionated. And so I already had ideas, like a lot of my thoughts now regarding how we need to accelerate private lands conservation, period, but especially among like tenant farmers. A lot of those opinions had begun to form years ago and then were strengthened by my research that I did as a Nuffield scholar. But the sustainability linked loan and that whole process of creating that and working with Environmental Defense Fund and Great Outdoors Foundation and CoBank and Heartland, that there were many lost nights of sleep trying to actually build that partnership. And there were many times when we were like, we can't, this isn't going to work. We got to walk away from this. There were times when I definitely did not think we were going to get that off the ground, but everybody cared enough about trying to make it work that everyone just kept pushing. And there were times that I was like flagging and losing my energy, and then EDF would step in and they'd be like, we got this. And then there were times that EDF was like, we got to tap out for a bit. And CoBank or Great Outdoors Foundation were like, we can help with this. Like, we can do this. We can draft this contract. This is fine. So, I mean, everybody came to the table in different ways throughout the entirety of forming that in a way that I'm not blowing, smoke up your ass. It was one of the most, when it was all said and done, it was one of the most amazing experiences I'd ever been a part of professionally, because it was like, wow, that's what real partnership looks like. Holy crap.
Yeah.
We all carried the weight of that thing, and it was a thing. It was a behemoth, and we carried it. So I love that about the SLL.
So how has the reaction been to dealing in all those really nuanced, that can be somewhat polarizing conversations? You touched on a few of them, conventional ag, water quality, health, all of that. All things that need to be talked about, but sometimes people are scared because it can be polarizing. So how has the reaction been for you for those conversations?
Honestly, overwhelmingly positive.
Really? That's great.
The people that disagree or are upset if they feel personally attacked, because typically that's what it is, right?
Yeah,
I'm not trying to attack anyone. I'm trying to attack some ideology that I think is poor and some systems that I don't think are helping people, but I'm never trying to attack a person.
Right.
So typically if anyone ever does respond poorly, it's just because they took it personally. They felt it was a personal attack, and I totally get that. And then I just respond with grace and kindness and just explain, and I always want to open up that conversation. I never try to shut it down, because it's like, I absolutely respect your opinion. I absolutely know where you're coming from, because guess what? I was you.
Right.
I didn't know what cover crops were until I was in high school, and I asked my dad what they were, and he's like, well, they don't work. You know? Like, very conventional guy, just like, they don't work. And I was like, okay, you listen to your dad, you're in high school, and you're like, okay, they don't work, I guess. So I totally get that. And I don't want it to ever be, you're wrong and I'm right. It's, let's look at what's happening. Let's actually look back 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Let's look at our current water quality. Let's look at our soil health. Let's look at some data, and let's just start that conversation, because you and I want the same things.
Right.
We want a thriving Iowa. We don't want cancer. We want good food, and we want to be able to make money and not have our family starve. We want the same things.
Right.
We need to start working together and not working apart. And then we can actually make positive change. But it's going to hurt a little bit because it's new and it's different. And that always scares people. It's a disruptor, right? I think it's a happy disruptor.
I think that is such a, when you take a step back, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, now looking 30 years ahead, that those values of innovation and collaboration and stewardship, those are evident throughout the history of the Great Outdoors Foundation, and I think will play a really significant role in the future as well. How do you, as a CEO, we went through some exercises to really clearly define those values, but I think even before they were there, you were embodying them, and the board was embodying them. They were cultivating them within our staff. How do you encourage those, and how do you lead with those values first over business demands or expectations on the organization?
Yeah, I mean, even in the way that you asked that, I think you give me a little bit more credit than what it is. I think that, it's just, you're not attracted to this line of work, right? If you don't hold some of those values like stewardship. So certainly I think it's part of the calling of, being into conservation, having that be your passion, whether you're on the board or a donor or someone that works here, like you embody like stewardship, you embody things like that. I think that the part that I have been so thankful for from the board perspective is the innovation. I think that's just something that is part of who I am. That's what gets me excited. I am never going to be, and there's probably some people on the staff that can attest to this. Like, I'm not a form filler outer. I don't want to check boxes.
That's a special nod to you, Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle, I'm thinking of you. And thank you for keeping track of those things. But I'm someone that likes to build things. I like to start things new. I like to, look around at all the people and all the reading and all the research and, build something better. I think that's just who I am. And the board has constantly been there saying, yeah, this is a great idea. There might be some, not pushback, but like, have you thought about this? Things to make the process better. But they have continuously showed up, and not just the board, but the community as a whole. You think about Icon Water Trails, sometimes I'm like, I can't believe not only that got off the ground, but that we're in the middle of building that project, right?
Exactly.
We're mitigating 3 low-head dams in downtown Des Moines. There's 80 access points, over 150 miles of trails. And we're putting surfing and kayaking in downtown Des Moines.
Right. Yeah.
And the community of Des Moines was like, that sounds like a great idea.
Exactly.
Like, we are on board, and not only we're going to do this, but we're going to use it to improve our water quality. We're going to use it to expand partnerships up and downstream.
Right.
I mean, the community of Des Moines and central Iowa just shows up and has the ability to think big. And I really, really do attribute that to the business leaders in this community. They may be, CEOs of multinational companies, but they really invest big in Des Moines and the people in Des Moines. And so that's been one of the things that innovation, I'm in the right community, and it's nurtured in this environment. But collaboration, I think that part of that was necessity, right? How do you grow something from being supported by firewood sales to, having a staff and granting out millions of dollars each year? The only way you do that is through collaboration and partnership. But it's also the nature of conservation. It's such a complex, interconnected concept that you have to be a collaborator to make those things work. There's not a lot of room for egos or territory. You have to be able to work across sectors, work across party lines. And I think it also speaks to the universality of conservation and water quality. It's not defined by one type of person or one party. It's something that we all care about.
So as we head into 2026, we'd ask that you, as the listener, would help us create content that is most valuable to you by either commenting or sending in requests for speakers or guests or particular subject matter. And we'll do our best to accommodate that and get expert perspectives on those particular issues. Make sure to share this episode with a happy disruptor in your life and follow along with the work that we're doing on all major social platforms. And to those who celebrate, have a very Merry Christmas and a wonderful holiday season. We will see you back here in 2026.